Oh, snap. You sons of matches. How's it going, peoples? Bobo here with BrassReel Movie Reviews. Just got out of Wakanda Forever. And, as always, joining me is my can of spam. Andrew, what it do?
Wakanda.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah, keep talking for a second there.
Yeah, so
okay, there you go. I didn't hear you for a second. All right, sweet.
Yeah, so
we just saw this, man. What'd you think? First off, straight out of theater, what'd you think?
Better than Thor: Love and Thunder.
Dude, no doubt. Better than this piece of smack. While there are redeeming moments in this movie at some points as far as it being funny, it just as a whole not a great film, but man, this did what I was expecting. I was very happy. This is giving me faith in the future of the MCU. Do you agree?
Well, it certainly makes me feel like they're getting back on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like that they're suffering from a little bit of cram too much in the movie-itis. But I think as a whole, this movie felt more like what a lot of the depth of a lot of the movies had in some of the earlier stuff. You know, like I felt like I was watching a good story that wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, there weren't a whole lot of gimmicks in it. You know, like Thor: Love and Thunder had a lot of gimmicks, and they just wanted. It almost got to be where they were trying to be funny just for the sake of funny. You know, what Taki had to put it in all of the stuff that he likes to put in his films, and this was like no, we're gonna erase all of these gimmicks. We're going to tell a good story, and maybe a lot of that was because this is for. No. Hey, this is for Chadwick. We're going to tell the story correctly. We're not going to play around. We're not going to have any gimmicks. We're not going to do this or that or whatever. So I mean that could have been the reason, but I like to think that they knew this is going to be a movie that is going to hold a lot of weight and have a lot of weight on its shoulder. They wanted, and I feel like they knew the task at hand was you cannot screw this movie up, so
yeah. Yeah, and they didn't, man. I think that they definitely succeeded in the fact of trying to make something that was really respectful towards Chadwick, and also something that added to the mythos of the Black Panther world, because all these movies, even though they exist in the Marvel universe and among other films, they still are their own worlds. Iron Man 1 through 3 has its own set of characters. The Ant-Man movies have its own set of characters, even though they coexist in other films. And so this one, I felt like it, even without having Chadwick, it still added to that world of the Black Panther, which there's going to be another one. We know that. I do see this being pretty successful though, man. I was very happy with the tone of it, the writing, the lines. There's a lot of good dialogue. A lot of good quotes. I have some nitpicks. I have some flaws.
Yeah, there's some questions that need to be answered, but the questions that we're going to be asking ourselves is not at all like reflective of the movie. It's just hey, there's looming questions now that I'm kind of curious about and where that's if those are gonna get answered.
Well, so first off, I was curious how they were going to deal with the whole idea of us not having Chadwick in this movie. Were we going to see him some sort of homage to him at the beginning? Which, by the way, that opening with Marvel intro that was, when they do the red Marvel thing at the beginning with Marvel Studios, and this was purple and it had nothing but Chadwick scenes. Yeah, that was dope. That was really respectful. Cool. But going into the beginning, my one of two real only complaints about this movie was, and we talked about this in the parking lot. I feel like that because he passed away in real life, the choices they made to acknowledge that at the beginning of this movie felt like when you're picking up on like a season 4 of a season of something, because that season 3 left off on a cliffhanger. However, a cast member that was essential to that cliffhanger, they let go, and so they had to write him out of the first episode, but without having him in it. Now I know that obviously they didn't write him out. It was tragic. He passed away, but it felt like that's what they did in the beginning. The way that it was they even talk about. So what you missed right at the beginning before you walked in is it shows Shuri in the tech room, where they do all their stuff, and she's panicking, and her AI is talking to her, telling her that T'Challa's heart rate is really going down, and it's looking critical, and she's freaking out. And Angela Bassett comes in there, and she, the Queen's like, "Oh my God, and can you do all this stuff?" And then she breaks the news to him that his heartbeat's no longer, he's gone. He's with his ancestors. Yeah, that was the way they did it. It was just like, y'all were even portraying that he was in the other room, and you still didn't even show him, or didn't show a body or anything. I don't know. I'm not, like we just said, there's really no wrong way or wrong decision on what they were doing, because ultimately all they were really trying to do was continue telling a good story while being respectful. They were definitely trying to do that. I just think that it could have been done better, personally.
Yeah, I had to fight 2 wrecks to get to the theater on time tonight. So the universe was trying my patience, and I was like, "This is you are not keeping me from seeing this movie." So I walked in, and it started like maybe 30 seconds after I walked in. So that was unfortunate, but I do have to agree with you a little bit. Like I think that if they could have done even a stand-in or a body double, a stunt double, or just CGI like they did with Paul Walker, to kind of put him in the picture and see the devastation when he
make us feel like we're losing him on screen.
Yeah, and I don't think that would have been disrespectful. I mean, come on, it's not the first time that would have ever been done. Look what they did with Leia, in Star Wars.
Right. They did something with it. Oh, look at who we got finally joining us. I think something was messing up. What's up, Buster?
Yo, what's up, man? I guess you sent me the wrong invite because I was hanging backstage and I got crickets. What up, Whirly, man? It's good to see you, buddy.
Hey.
Long time no see, my man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I've missed the hangouts that you and Bobby have done.
Hey, man, we got you now. That's the important thing.
Yeah, well, I continue what you were saying, though, because we were talking about.
Oh, well, I was just saying that I don't think it would have been completely disrespectful to have like a CGI or even a stand-in or something that kind of puts, T'Challa in the opening scene and showing him taking his last breath or showing him dying, to kind of portray, to kind of just let us see the weight of that happening. And it wouldn't have been the first time that happened. I mean, look what they did with Leia and Star Wars, they even had Paul Walker's brother stand in for him. So I don't know.
We were saying how we felt like it almost felt like they were writing, like when the season 3 of a season or something ends, and then it was a cliffhanger, and then the next season starts, but that person isn't in there anymore because they left the show and they had to write him out. That's kind of how it felt like at the beginning of this. Felt like they were just writing him out of it because they were portraying that he was in the next room, but we don't see him. And so what Andrew and I were saying is that we feel like that even some sort of a presence to make us visualize him being there sick somehow. Don't even have to see his face, but it would have made me feel like I lost something more on screen. Whereas this, it felt like I was watching somebody trying to write out.
That's interesting because, the thing I caught about this movie is it felt like it was a movie we needed to mourn him. And I think that's what
the whole movie was.
I think that's why
opening scene.
I think that's why they intentionally just kept him off. Like they wanted you to miss it. Like they missed it. No, I think also it was a little bit personal as well. Let me ask you guys a question. Okay.
Real quick before you say that, we also just said that we understand that this was all based on them 100% trying to be respectful. No one was trying to do anything wrong. There was no wrong decisions here. It's just a choice that they went with,
Yeah.
So we're not dogging on anybody.
Yeah.
So go ahead though.
So let me ask you a question. Did either of you two ever watch Spartacus?
Yeah, and that guy died.
And they replaced him.
Yeah.
So what would you have felt like if that's what Black Panther had done, if they replaced him?
I personally have always said I think they should have replaced him.
Yeah, Bobby's already said that he's of the team that thinks they should have just replaced T'Challa because
there's too much T'Challa in the comics for them to just be. It's over now.
So I thought I was going to be on the same page with you. With that being said, I really like this movie.
Oh, I love this
because I think emotionally it hit the tone of. You could tell that this death really hit them hard. Chadwick Boseman's death really hit them on an emotional level.
Very much.
That whole movie felt like the whole cast was mourning. They wanted the crowd to mourn him, not just T'Challa, but Chadwick Boseman as well.
Sure.
And so I think that's kind of what they were going for. And so when I walked out of the movie, despite the fact that, listen, I want to see a lot more of the character of Black Panther on the screen. He's one of my favorites. I really enjoyed this movie because it hit me on that emotional level. And I don't know about you guys, but this movie almost got to me a couple times. It's the closest I've come to shedding a tear in a comic book-based movie other than maybe Logan,
Oh, no, it got
come
to
on
be...
now. Endgame, when Tony dies, is that tugs at you.
When Gwyneth Paltrow's sitting there and she's starting to cry dude, yeah.
And she says, you can rest now. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm with Andrew. Now, look, I was getting like that. I was getting verklempt, if you will. I thought all of it was great. But even though it is not the choice that I would have made if I was an exec, being that this is the choice they made, they did a fantastic job. You know what I mean? Like, the story was deep. It was rich. I was just telling him before you got on, I felt like it added to the Black Panther world that exists within the MCU. It added more to that story. And I really liked all the characters. Everything was good. I enjoyed the pace of it. I liked that it was not trying to be gimmicky like Thor Love and Thunder. It felt like an actual good movie.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this other question then, because in real life we can't have our cake and eat it too, despite the fact that's why I try to tell my girlfriend. I try to tell her, listen, sometimes we should be able to have a cake and eat it too, but she ain't hearing it. She don't want no other ladies in the bedroom. But all right, but they did kind of give it to you in this movie because we got that mid-credit scene, which I'm assuming you guys stuck around for.
Yeah.
And we have a new T'Challa, and so the promise is. We will have, and it says, I think, if you stayed all the way to the end, if you were a sucker like me and didn't look up how many post-credit scenes there were in the movie, at the very end, it does say Black Panther will be coming back soon.
Oh, it does say we'll return.
Yeah, we'll return. So
yeah, but is Shuri going to be Black Panther in another movie before?
The question now is that little boy, like we have to jump 15, 20 years before he's going to be Black Panther.
Oh, and hey.
It's comic books, man. It's just a little time wormhole,
Well, you write that in.
A little endgame time jump.
Kang,
we got Kang coming. Yeah.
Beautiful that you're bringing that up. Tell him what you just were talking to me about earlier about what happened to T'Challa in that 5 years.
Yeah.
What happened to Wakanda?
So,
who was ruling?
Yeah, the questions that I have that are just like looming questions that
they don't really talk about it.
Well, yeah. So like did they just not have a ruler?
So that's I read an interview with Ryan Coogler before he knew Chadwick Boseman was sick and was going to pass away. That was what the movie was going to be about, was Black Panther missing those 5 years of time. Now he's going into more detail, and I'm sure we'll find out more details later, but that was the original crux of the movie. And then obviously he passed away, and then they changed it to everybody mourning the Black Panther because they realized they weren't going to replace him, right? So
well, I'm look, like I said, this is a tragic situation that's you have to pivot on something like this, and there's no wrong decision. It's just a matter of how well you do with what you have, and they did a good job. I loved all the characters except, and it's not that she did a bad job. I didn't mind her as an actor. I just didn't need Riri. I understand that she was part of like why they were trying to protect her, and that's why Shuri got kidnapped. but they could have made Riri way less of an experienced suit flyer and just made her really smart and more of a threat, a potential threat. And that it could have been like Namor's like, let's keep her down before she becomes something bigger, instead of her making like her already this awesome thing at age 16 or 17. And it's just like, you're telling me this is in the same world where Tony Stark, his life's work was building up to this suit. I understand she adapted tech and all this stuff that was already there.
She had been flying it before too. Remember the YouTube video she mentioned?
Yeah, where did she get all this time? She's only 16 or 17 to have just known it and flown this well.
Spider-Man built web shooters out of the basement of his,
that's true.
Yeah,
dude, a web shooter
on, man.
and a suit, it's two different things, dude. A chemical compound that happens to work that's like, Eureka, I discovered something. That's way different than being an expert pilot at this suit. Apparently that Tony Stark was crashing the first however many times he had to try to fly.
Did you ever take majors level chemistry in college? It's the hardest class ever, I guess engineering is pretty tough too. But listen, this is comic books, man. We ain't trying to pick this stuff apart.
Listen to me. They've set this out before, though. Where this is in the same world where it took a man who's supposed to be regarded as like one of the smartest men to ever have lived as a human. It took him all this figuring out to finally figure out how to fly this suit. Fast forward to Iron Man 3, anybody can fly the suit.
Well, Tony had some other things going against him too, like for example, alcohol, right? And
but look, I feel like you're just arguing to argue. What I'm saying is that I think they're going too fast with this. Okay. I don't buy it that this little girl can just all of a sudden is this awesome warrior in this suit, and it's like she's been doing it forever, and she's not even old enough. She hasn't even gone through her full hormones of puberty yet. Well, and how is she just this awesome badass?
All right, go ahead, Andrew. I guess I'm add on that, but
Namor. First of all, Namor doesn't. I mean, Namor knows that she's a scientist that made that machine that he's after, but I don't think he knows the full extent of what she has designed when it comes to essentially an Iron Man suit. So him and his army being like, we need to ground her, we need to keep her. He didn't know what she was about to do when it came to that final battle. And she really didn't have that much impact anyways. She was never going to be able to defeat him.
Yeah, so, agreed. I think it's just a large leap is, Shuri, we never see her train. We never see her go into battle. So, she fights Namor hand to hand. Yeah, she's superpowered now, but how did she learn how to fight? Like, you can make a lot of logical leaps in comic book movies. That's what I'm saying. Like, where do we start drawing the line on logical leaps in the comic book?
Yeah, I think they used to do a better job at making us not have to jump that big leap. I think it used to be seamless to where we weren't thinking about it. Now I'm thinking about it. It used to be better. Well, it's just now they're just going too fast, too quick with characters like America Chavez and Doctor Strange 2. It's like, come on, let us kind of get to know her before she's just like this most important character ever. I don't even care about her.
And I don't know when we'll see her again either. And I don't know if we'll see Ironheart again.
And just that's the thing with Riri. It was just thrown in. I need better, slower exposition rather than it just to be all thrown in at once.
I know this answer with you, Bobo. Andrew, were you a big comic book fan growing up?
No, not nearly like Bobby is. I knew these characters and I knew the story arcs, for the maybe 50 to 60% of them, but I didn't collect them like Bobby. I just knew them from the cartoons, or I knew them from friends.
Okay.
So I'll be the first to admit I was always asking Bobby, like, well, what is it about the comics that was accurate about this, and I used to
could answer every question, and now I can't anymore.
Yeah, it's called getting old, man. It's called getting old. We don't have the same bandwidth. But to answer to expand upon the idea I'm throwing out here, in the comic books you remember reading as a youngster way back in the day, how much time do they give characters to learn how to become superheroes?
Okay, but that's those comic books are a different medium and a different platform of entertainment than a film.
Okay,
that's supposed to be taken a little more seriously. That adults that aren't kids reading comics anymore are supposed to be able to watch.
The first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
How much time did he get?
Oh, dude, excellent character development.
Right.
And he swung around and was messing up all the time, and he was
at the very beginning of the movie, which like she did at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, but this is also a great prime example of a good filmmaker and good exposition. Spielberg is a master at it. Raimi was a master at it in that movie. I don't think he did such a good job of it in Doctor Strange 2. But I do think that in Spider-Man 1 and 2, it's just a perfect blend of lightning in the bottle between they just enough time of him actually messing up as a character and the pacing of the story. And then it's jumping. And then we're seeing him being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man before he even is worrying about the Goblin. So I just think it's done better.
Okay, let's ask this question to both of you. Let's say you want more Riri and you want more character development on Riri. What are you going to cut out of the movie? Because it's already close to 3 hours long.
Which is why I'm saying I could have done without her.
I know, without her at all? But she is.
I know that she was the reason that Shuri got. I just think that adding her and all that stuff with the suit is too much. Just have her be a threat and have her be intelligent, and not get to that point of the suit yet. Then that's cool.
They gotta do new Avengers, dog.
Well,
it's too much.
Young Avengers.
If I can,
too much.
If I can,
going on.
if I can interject here, in Infinity War, you remember how Bruce is falling all over himself in the Hulkbuster because he can't turn into the Hulk, so he's in the big ass Iron Man thing, and it shows him just making it seem like he has no idea what he's doing, and it even shows what's her name looking at him with this disgusting look on her face, like, what is this? Maybe they could have just had Riri have some moments of I'm not so confident in this thing right now. Like, holy shit, what's
that's
happening?
That's what I'm talking about. Some character development.
Maybe there could have been a few moments of that. Other than just she's immediately as professional and as good as Iron Man. I guess on that level I get what you're saying, but I mean,
listen, you're not wrong. Let me just throw this out there. You're not wrong from a storytelling.
He's just being the Angel devil's advocate.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, though, there's two sides to a Marvel movie. And one of those sides is marketing. And marketing wants to push out Riri Williams, and Ironheart wants to push merchandise. And that's probably the directive that the director got. So this is the story that you got. But
yeah, and he is playing with the big, larger scale of a narrative than just this movie.
Sure. Okay, well, let me ask you, Anshul, because Bobby was like, I'd already stopped reading comics when that came out. How much of the Ironheart story that we just saw is pretty much what happened? Like, is she really the scientist?
She's a genius. Now her origin is completely different, and I'm not super familiar with the character, although I did love the character concept.
But hers is much more related to Stark Tech, and it's like actually more involved with her interests and everything, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, so she's person. In the storyline, we pick up that Tony Stark is quote unquote dead, and she kind of picks up the mantle. But she's an MIT student, and she does it all. It's all a homemade suit originally, right? And then she ends up building upon it. She's a great character, man. I think what I'm loving about this MCU, and it's had a lot of problems in this phase. A lot of it's not being good. But where you have a problem with comics is the legacy characters that are the backbone of the company. You've been writing the same stories about those characters for 60 years. There's only so many stories you can write. And that's why the stories are no longer good. And so to have other characters pick up the mantle and create fresh perspectives for storytellers to tell stories is only a good thing.
See, I disagree. I think where Marvel's gone wrong is just... Now, I say gone wrong. In comic books, you can make this work because you don't have to keep actors young and you don't have to keep actors satisfied. Yes, I'm sure that after this, Chris Evans is like, I'm kind of over it. I'm sure, Robert Downey Jr. is like, look, I'm older than any of these mofos in real life. I'm definitely over this now as far as doing it every day and being that committed to that, what I'm saying, that same character. But I think that there was way more stories to tell with those core characters in those group settings. And even with the core characters I'm talking about with Ant-Man, with the Guardians and all that, I don't think we were finished with their stories yet.
But we were done with Iron Man.
Jumping on with more new characters.
We weren't done with Iron Man. Iron Man's still the best part of the MCU. Tony, Robert Downey Jr. and Andrew, maybe you can agree with this since you're an actor, right? Robert Downey Jr. was that character. Like as soon as he got in that role, I mean, it was basically he was playing Robert Downey Jr. on screen, and it happened to be perfect.
For sure,
perfect for Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, Tony rose. Tony was down on his luck. He was down and out. He was, he was essentially self-destructing, and much like Robert Downey's career and his personal life. I mean, he was unhireable for quite a while. And so, yeah, I mean, that it was almost like this is perfect. Tony Stark is going after redemption, and so is Robert Downey.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I think to this day he was still the best part of the MCU. But to your point, Bobo, he had to move on. And it's a good thing he did, because let's be honest, Iron Man 2 and 3 weren't that great. And it was only be a matter of time before people got tired of his role.
But also, you're talking about contracts, I understand what you're saying, Bobby. Bobby, you're making it sound like, these core characters should have had like 6 stories apiece, and these actors don't want to do that.
That's gonna be like 12 years of their life, man.
Look,
maybe more.
That's why I said that I know that, but I just think that personally, the idea of it building up to Endgame and everything, that was awesome. I just feel like that there was a couple more, like the whole, even within their own movies, a lot of it was building up to this bigger deal. And this last phase, I don't feel like any of these movies have been building up to a bigger deal.
Yeah, well, that's been something they've absolutely failed to kind of drive home. Like what exactly are they calling this phase 4, phase 5? Like what exactly is this phase coming ahead to? Like we all knew that Endgame was coming. We finally started understanding that Thanos was actually was the big showdown with Thanos was going to be the end of this specific phase and the Infinity Saga. Mm-hmm. But it's been very unclear since this new phase has started off with all these Disney Plus shows and this and this and this, and what's coming. What is it that's coming to a head? There's obviously going to be a new Avengers team, but what are they going to be fighting?
Yeah,
Ant-Man and Guardians and all that wasn't done yet. Black Panther's not done yet. Franchises that had started before all these new characters that are just being bombarded now, these aren't even done yet. And I feel like that's the point I was trying to make.
I think Guardians got a new movie coming out, and I think they're going to be done after that movie. And of course, Kang is what the answer is, but
Guardians won't be, but that cast will.
I think more to your point, Andrew, you're not wrong. The thing is, I mean, you got to remember, we didn't even get introduced till Thanos till way later. Right. Well, I guess after the first Avengers, we get that post-credit scene, but where we got to know the Thanos, Josh Brolin Thanos. We got introduced him way later. The good thing was the movies were good. The quality of the movies were good. So they just had to tie it in a little bit to keep you going and keep you motivated. Majority of the properties in this phase have not been good.
No.
She-Hulk, perfect example. Yeesh. One of the worst shows ever, right?
Yeesh.
So, yeah,
well,
it just
quality for fun. Good. Just for fun, look what I had ready to go.
Oh, God. If that show gets a season 2, what will we do? We gotta have some sort of payoff.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that the Abomination is in that show, because that fucking show's an abomination.
Yeah.
And what a waste of Tim Roth,
Yeah.
Well, okay, so back to Wakanda Forever.
Black Panther.
I guess another looming question that I had was his son being born. I mean, what was her name? Nakia? Was she by the lovely Lupita Nyong'o?
She looks so good, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And she's an incredible actress too.
Yeah. I mean, he disappeared for 5 years. Was she pregnant before he disappeared?
Yeah, I mean that kid. The kid looked like he was about 6 or 7, so it could have been. He'd obviously smashed before the snap. Maybe he smashed right before the snap. But how would that be an exit, right?
Well, yeah, it's like boom, beast.
Like as soon as he nuts, snap, turn to dust.
That's not true. We saw
that. But I think I remember like when she's talking to the mother, to the queen. She's saying something about, they mentioned something about Thanos. And was she saying that she left when the snap happened?
Mm-hmm. So that's what we think. But looking back, she left because the snap happened, but also the kid was born.
Right. But what I'm saying is
she didn't want him to be around the pressure of the crown.
So what they're saying is why didn't you come back for his funeral?
Yeah.
That was what she was saying. Yeah. Why, and it wasn't, why did you like leave because he died? It was, why didn't you come back when he died?
And then we find out that he asked her not.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's like all that stuff is great. That worked for me. If I just would have had this one link to seeing a body that made me think, oh my God, there's T'Challa. and then he's gone. I would have had much more of this feeling of loss.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, I got this close to crying when they show that montage with him at the end where
Oh,
she's burning
dude,
his
I'm talking about at the beginning. I'm talking about at the beginning. Instead of them like feeling like we're on a show that wrote out a character because he's not accessible anymore.
Yeah.
I know he's not accessible. I think they could have handled that in the beginning better. At the end, all of it, if the whole movie was a tribute to Chadwick, no question.
Yeah,
What
even that casket, even that coffin that he put in, I was like, I want to be put in one of those.
Yeah.
Fuck, and be taken out. What do they do with him? Does he go out and float up in space? That's badass. But I was also
King has him.
There was like a small moment where I was like, are they gonna open that thing and like put something in there, and we're gonna see like a glimpse of a body, you know? But
what if
alas,
what if we got a post-credit scene where Nakia wakes up in a bed and she hears a shower going in her bathroom, and then we see CGI Chadwick Boseman taking a shower, and we find out it was all a dream.
Oh yeah.
And man,
that's a callback, kids. It's a callback to a little show called Dallas that some of your grandma used to watch.
JR.
Yeah.
Yeah, who shot JR? I like I said, I would have recast T'Challa, but since they didn't, this is about the best job I think they could have done with it. And look, we haven't even mentioned Namor yet.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, great villain. And we don't know, is he a villain or not at the end? The end kind of leaves it up in the middle. Hey, I'm working with Wakanda.
No, he's that whole speech he gives is it's almost like I don't know the proper words to use, but like the speech the speech that he gives at the end to that girl, the one he was talking to,
Namora.
How dare you kneel or give into the Wakandans? It's almost like he knows, like, no, listen to me, there's a plan happening.
Well,
they're going to attack Wakanda. Wakanda's going to ask us for help,
but that's all he says, though.
But the deviousness under that speech, I believe, is that that what he's really saying is Wakandans are going to ask us for help because the surface people are going to attack them. They're going to ask us for help, and we're going to take Wakanda during that.
Yeah, what I think is that he's going to do what's in true Namor fashion. Is he's now all he's looking at it as is leverage at one point. So what will happen is he's not ever going to try to turn his back on the Wakandans, but he's gonna force them into helping him with something that's not necessarily a good thing later and down the road. Because Namor, at the end of the day, don't really give a shit about the surface world. No. He might have some moments of compassion. He might say he does love some Reed Richards. I mean, excuse me, some Sue Storm.
Sue Storm, yeah.
So there's that whole thing coming up, which they're obviously going to have to incorporate. That's too much of
I don't know. That might be a little bit me too for these days,
and gotta have Reed Richards.
Unless you recast Bill Murray as Namor, and then you're perfect.
And the first time the word mutant was used.
Yep.
Well, was it the first time it was used, though? I think they've used it already.
When?
So there was
Marvel Girl.
No, Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
And there was one other X-Men. Oh, that was just when they were saying it in Doctor Strange too. When we had the see Professor Xavier, but they also play that little clip of that song in Miss Marvel at the end. But yeah, he says mutant and that. But the way that's another thing. Is Namor been branded as a mutant in the nerd comic book world?
Yes.
Straight up.
100%. He's known as the first mutant.
Okay, cool.
A little retcon. I mean, Namor's an old character that they've retconned.
Right. That wasn't it from the beginning, though. That was after X-Men came out. They named him the first mutant.
How is that possible, though? Because the origin story that he's explaining...
He's a mutated Atlantean.
He's a what?
He's a mutated Atlantean. Mutants aren't just for humans, right? Mutate genes can be for other species,
right? Yeah, for other species.
So he's a mutant Atlantean,
which is half human, half Atlantean.
Yeah, with mutate genes as well, powers. So yeah, he's a mutant.
I thought I thought his mom was Mayan and was dying of smallpox, and they took they.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the comic book version of Namor.
But in this one, he was a mutant because they basically mixed the DNA with the blue shit with her. She was human, but it basically turned him in. It's basically like because she was pregnant and she took that shit, it turned him into this new species and the one and only Namor.
So, is this how they're going to introduce mutants? Are we going to find out that Namor was smashing, like he was just going up the surface worlds? He's been around since the 16th century, Holmes. You know?
Yeah, I mean that could be something.
He's hiding them little ankle wings and smashing human women.
I am definitely hopeful that they will somehow or another start acknowledging Namor when the Fantastic Four movies are coming out. I don't want them to do it with the first one because I want it to be about Victor. And honestly, I would be even okay with the first movie them being complete friends with Victor the entire film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's not make the Snyder mistake where he busted not early on.
Yeah, like let's again
Zod
let
should have been the end of the
relationship develop to where you realize, oh man, Reed and Victor were buddies. Yeah. And then you are more affected when it goes wrong. So,
well, Doom in the comics is one of the most powerful villains.
He's the most nefarious, not the most powerful, the most nefarious.
He's pretty damn powerful, man.
So I kind of feel like he should have been I kind of feel like he should be where all this is heading at this point, but they're not doing that clearly because they would have introduced him already.
Kang's a great villain too, though, man.
Yeah,
Kang's a great villain. I think Kang will lead to Doom. I mean, if you're doing Secret Wars, you guys didn't read the new Secret Wars, right?
No, and that's what
masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. Oh. Jonathan Hickman is one of the best comic book writers of all time.
So you think they're going to be pulling from the new Secret War?
I hope so. It's a fantastic story. I did not have high hopes. Jonathan Hickman is a great writer, man. He's written so many phenomenal runs on so many different comics, and what makes him great is Marvel has complete trust in him. So he can plant little seeds in a run of, like, let's say, Fantastic Four. And then he'll do a run of X-Men 2 years later, and he'll take those seeds he planted in Fantastic Four. And
he's structured and organized like a mofo.
And he was able to do that to such a degree that when he wrote Secret Wars, he was able to bring in a lot of those concepts that he just laid groundwork for. Yeah, and so it made the story just that much better. It's a great story.
Yeah. Like even the Infinity Saga, which is what they're calling it now. Even if it didn't have like Thanos and like an end credit scene where we were seeing him, it had something to do with an Infinity Stone. On multiple end credit scenes had something to do with the Infinity Stone, so that all tied together. It wasn't some random. I'm going to show you a secret scene. Just because I want to throw that in there. It all had a reason behind it, which is what they're not doing right now.
Yeah, now all the behind the scenes are them just trying to be like, what are the post credit scenes? Are like, what can we do in a post credit scene? And used to it was like, what is this post credit scene going to mean? And when you got done with it, you were like, oh shit! And it just doesn't feel that way anymore.
Well, I think part of the problem is you're not just having movie writers write this property anymore. I think we can all safely say, even though none of us are writers, that there's a big.
I have read the screenplay, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, man. I should have looked at your IMDb. My bad, Holmes. My bad.
I kid.
I'll save it.
That means nothing.
But there's a big quality difference between TV and movie writers, right? And Marvel's had movie writers work on their stuff, and now they've got these TV writers writing their material for majority of their shows, and they are whack. Sometimes they write straight trash.
You are absolutely right. Times. You are absolutely right, man. They are not getting the quality writers for the Disney Plus shows as they are the movies.
Well, and even then, I feel like the movies are sort of like they write an easy way out with certain things. Like, as much as I love No Way Home, it has so many awesome moments, and there is a lot of heart to that film. There are some moments that are cheaply written, and they just kind of want you to buy it. They just be like, just buy this part, and that's something they didn't used to do.
Here's a question that's impossible to answer that has nothing to do with the content of this video. Bobo, you and I watched a little movie last night called Slumberland, and it harkened me back to our days of childhood yore when we didn't have, smartphones or computers, and so we had to use a little thing called the imagination. We had to get out of bed and pretend it was a spaceship and all that other stuff. I wonder if that's going to affect the quality of writing moving forward, because kids these days don't have to use their imagination. That's
a good way of looking at it. That's a good theory.
Yeah, I wonder. I would like to see some data. Somebody out there that's not as lazy as I am that wants to research this and write a novel.
Well, no, I can take a stab at that. That is going to come down to how much do you read? How much do you actually open a book?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Our kids these days now reading. Are they? You know,
Well, I think
I've got two cousins. They're one's in college now, and the other one's about to be in college in a couple of years. Since they were kids, I remember them being on their phone because they were hyperactive.
Yeah, you're only a product of how you're raised.
Dad would just hand them the smartphone, be like, "Hey, play a game. Shut up."
You're not forced to use your imagination because you've always got something at your fingertips.
Mhm.
Then how imaginative are you going to be when you become a writer?
Yep.
But I would like to think that there's people in there that naturally have a thirst for stories in general. So those type of people are wanting to at least read on their Kindle or read some sort of, I mean, look, I never was a novel reader, but I still enjoy reading comics. And as well as I do, Anshul, yeah, there are some comics that are just a bunch of fun pictures or whatever. But these days, there's a lot of dialogue in comics, especially if you're, when you have your Frank Millers of the world and your Chris Claremonts, depending on what he's writing. I mean, there's some really deep reading out there.
We should do that for a video as we just challenge each other with a comic book run that we want the other guy to read.
Yeah,
and do a video on it.
That's so much fun. And I can tell you the greatest way to read comics too. Like, and you guys out there, let me just tell you real fast. If you want to really get into it, read some comics. If you like to smoke a little weed, do that. If you like to drink, get yourself a beer or whatever drink. Don't get plastered. Don't get super stoned. Just get a little buzz. But then put some sort of score of a film that you can find online. But get the whole thing. Get the whole score that's like every track. And so it's like an hour-long score, an hour and 20-minute long score. You will be amazed at how the entire time, ironically and coincidentally, that score will match up with the highs and lows of what you're reading.
Well, yeah, that's what makes a good score, man.
Interesting.
No, I'm talking about a random score that has nothing to do with what you're reading. Like the scores are written for the movies that they belong to, but I'm saying you'd be amazed at how the score will actually build up at the right moment when you're reading a moment that is like they literally will.
Interesting.
Like the Wizard of Oz Dark Side of the Moon thing. You know what I mean? How does this pair up?
Yeah. Okay, I want to bring this back on track because you mentioned something I want to talk about with this movie. Before I do that, Andrew, let me say, if you ever want to read the worst comic book you've ever read in your life, go read any of Kevin Smith's Batman comic books. They are trash.
His Green Lantern was good.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
His Daredevils. His Daredevil Visionaries is awesome.
He's just the worst, man. So
he's not the worst. He always dogs on Kevin Smith. Every time we do it, he always dogs on Kevin Smith.
Well, I mean, maybe Kevin Smith should stick to Clerks 4 instead of
yeah, I'm sure that would be great.
Yeah.
So the score of this movie, I thought the score of this movie was fire.
Oh, it was excellent, dude. Excellent. I even wrote that down in my notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy that soundtrack, man. Or I'm gonna listen to it on Spotify because I can't remember the last time I bought anything music.
Right. Well, you buy it, you just pay for it monthly.
Well, it's still Hans Zimmer, but
Hans Zimmer. Hey, the stuff he did with Junkie XL on the Superman movie. The best part of Man of Steel was the soundtrack.
I like Man of Steel a lot. We look. I'm not going to have this. We had this whole conversation out in the parking lot last night. No, Junkie XL and him though on Batman versus Superman was great. I think both of them do a good job, and I think we can all say that Hans is the man.
Yeah.
But this
Junkie XL, that name is super interesting because if I was a Junkie XL and I had like shot up 2 vials of heroin, I might have enjoyed Man of Steel.
Well, he changed his name finally when he did the Justice League Snyder Cut score. He finally changed it to his real name, which is Tom Hulkenberg. So the guy Junkie XL is actually Tom.
He's
Hulkenberg.
A Swede, huh?
He doesn't go by the Junkie XL anymore. He realized that might. He's like McG as a director.
Yeah, it touches a little too home for Hollywood.
Yeah, it's just a little silly.
He could call himself Anne Heche's dealer.
Oh, too soon. So this movie was scored by Ludwig, and for some reason I can't remember the last name. I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden, but the same guy who did the score for Tenet, because Hans was doing Dune at that time. Hans always does all of Christopher Nolan's stuff ever since he did Batman Begins for him. He's like, yeah, you're my guy. But Hans wanted to do Dune really bad, and so he wasn't available for Tenet. So this guy Ludwig is the same guy who did Tenet. It's the guy who did the score for this.
Well, he's going on my list, and that's another interesting list we need to do one day. Top 5 music composers for movies. But yeah, this soundtrack was fantastic. Adam, what were your thoughts on it?
Andrew.
Sorry, I was looking at IMDb while I was sorry. My bad. Andrew, what was your thoughts on it?
You've known this guy for years, too. It's not
well, dude, he never comes around anymore. Ain't my fault.
Okay, go ahead, Todd.
Back when I was an alcoholic, he was serving me alcohol all the time. Of course I remembered his name.
Not, you know, I didn't notice the score being bad. I'm not someone like Bobby that like I noticed. I because of Bobby, I am starting to notice the score a lot more than I ever started than I ever like did before. Because he's making me realize how important it is, and I'm just like I never thought it wasn't important, but he's making me realize how integral it is to so much stuff. Like we watched this really bad horror film, the werewolf movie the other night that was written by a friend of mine, but he got some funding for it, and I was like, we
won't call anybody out on it.
We need to watch this. And
well, he's probably watching this review right now, be like that.
But Bobby was like, he's like, dude, are you noticing like all of these moments is where music should be building? And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm noticing that stuff more and more. But I mean, I didn't notice there's actually not a song or a moment in the score that stuck out for me with this, like an Amazing Spider-Man 2, which
Hans,
or Court Lake, coming soon,
or even the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, like those in the Spider-Man Homecoming trilogy. I know those songs. I know those tones.
Well, and I think it's because those movies, especially when Hans is really, really good about writing extremely memorable / recognizable themes for the film, for each individual character, and for specific moments. So what he does is he actually has all these things there's such hook line themes that he writes that you just can't ever forget them. Kind of like Indiana Jones, Star Wars. That's a hook that you'll never forget. And Hans does that. This movie didn't have hooks like that, but the atmosphere I felt like backed up the moments really well. And like I just felt like it emphasized some of the really emotional moments really well. And then the actual supervised hit pop songs that were in the you know what I'm saying? Those were all really good choices.
So that was like a low light of Black Adam for me, is the pop songs didn't fit. Like I thought the score was good, but the pop song choices weren't good. Here, I thought this movie, they nailed all of it.
I agree. I totally agree.
I was like, did they get A back? What is
that? Yeah.
That's a guy that's on one of our shit. But yeah, I agree with you on the music wholeheartedly.
I did think the music was very fitting for the theme and the culture of the movie, which
always. And then you have that.
So, what do you think about Ryan Coogler's performance as director?
Oh, I think Ryan Coogler's a great director. I've liked everything that he's done. I really think that he's why I had faith in this movie. Honestly, I mean, you can. Andrew can tell you. I was telling him, it's like I just don't think Ryan Coogler's going to sacrifice his not credibility in his career, but his artistic credibility. I think that he's truly an artist. Creed, I never thought I was going to like that movie. As soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, here we go. A cash grab from Brocky. And then I saw it and I was just like,
that movie's incredible.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
Yo, speaking of Creed.
We want to talk about Creed 3.
We won't talk about that, but we'll talk about Creed coming into this movie.
Yeah, he was up in this movie, wasn't he?
Well, and you know what? It's normally that moment. I don't know about y'all's theater, but my theater, majority of black people watching it, and you could tell they wanted to clap, but because it was such emotionally.
Oh yeah, ours did. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was more like a. It was more like a couple of
gasp.
People. It was that. Yeah. It was,
I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that was I personally feel like they threw him in there because they didn't feel comfortable doing a CGI or a body double of T'Challa talking to her. So like, okay, well maybe we'll do a Killmonger and throw a kind of a surprise in there, and so I don't know that
I thought it went well with the
don't know.
retribution and the vengeance that she
I
had.
agree. And did you guys notice her journey mirrors another journey we've seen in the MCU?
Peter.
No, her brother. When we first meet him in Civil War, this is the same exact journey he takes.
Oh yeah, because he's mad at his dad. That's the whole Winter Soldier thing. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it ends almost with the same exact beat, right? Yes,
you're right. You're totally right. I didn't think about that.
So it comes full circle, and I like the fact that they used him because they could have used T'Challa. He could have said, "Hey, listen, I've been on this journey," but she's not. She has to learn a lesson on her own. And
no,
so
I like that. And
Killmonger
when he chooses not to kill Baron Zemo, and he says, I almost killed the wrong man because of you, or something like that, and I'm gonna let you live." And
which, by the way, dude, I mean, I don't know when's the last time y'all watched Civil War, but dude, that movie's badass.
It's it's one of the best.
It's so good. But anyways, getting off track there. There was one other thing. Oh yeah, with Michael B. Jordan being in there, I thought that added to the vengeance level. Agreed. I thought it added a connective. Obviously, there's a connective tissue to the first film because everybody that's in it, except for Chadwick's in it. But this really added that connective tissue, I feel like. And I loved her anger and everything. I didn't care for the way her suit looked. I thought it looked a little Batman and Robin-ish. I felt like the pieces looked a little glued on to spandex.
I think they intentionally called out to Killmonger's suit, though, because it is a suit she wears initially for revenge. And so there's those touches of gold that he had on his suit that
it wasn't the colors that bothered me so much. It was the way it was like really. You remember when you saw Batman and Robin, they're like protruding off of the suit. And that's how these, like, they felt like they were big pieces, like hot glued on to her spandex.
Well, they don't do suits anymore. It's all CGI now. Even Spider-Man's suit's all CGI, so.
No, not all the time. There's plenty of pictures of him on set with it on. It's just depending on the fight scenes that they're doing and the movement. Like there's certain movements where they're in just green screens, but like there's plenty of times they actually have a suit on.
I think that one of my issues with the film, and again, this is just it's just about the details. It doesn't reflect the overall feeling of the movie. Is of course, I just lost what I was going to say because I kept thinking about the suit.
It was about the theme of revenge.
No. I think the theme of revenge is a.
We were talking. You didn't want. You said
is a great theme.
Did you guys enjoy the movie?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought it was really. My only real complaints is that I would have liked them to. I don't mind Riri being in it. The fact that she's a pro superhero, I just didn't like that. I would have rather not have the suit and her just be a potential threat and get to the suit in another movie later on. That's fine.
I think the reason obviously the main reason they included her in there was because of marketing mandates. But I think from a storyteller's perspective, you want Riri in there because you need something to ground Shuri, right? You need someone in there to ground her, to give you an excuse as to why she doesn't totally be consumed by revenge. And her friendship with Riri is what keeps her grounded and eventually helps pull her back.
None of that is what I'm complaining about. All of that is what I'm saying keep in. I'm saying they shouldn't have accelerated her to being a pro superhero at the beginning of the movie. She's flying out. I just don't. It's just too fast for me. Sorry. I just think that you're going so fast.
It's the same introduction we got to Spider-Man in Civil War, though.
You're talking about a totally different character you don't need an introduction for. Nobody knows who this character is. Spider-Man, everybody is born knowing who Spider-Man is.
So if they would have had Shuri watching YouTube videos of this girl and being like, we need to go see her, that would have covered it.
For me, take the whole comic book. I'm talking about filmmaking 101. I need you to make me care about this person. I don't care about her. She hasn't been in it long enough. If you would have had more of the movie about her struggling with who she is and nobody believes her and she can't get along with people at school and then she's afraid to be in there, but we do understand that she's very intelligent.
I wonder if that stuff is out there. I wonder if there's a cut with more of that stuff.
That's an origin story movie for that girl, not this one.
This is a Black Panther Wakanda Forever Namer movie, and then we have Ironheart in there. What I'm saying is that we could have had Riri and then build up to Ironheart later, it would have meant something more to me. But to me, this feels like I'm watching them put marketing on the screen. And if I'm thinking that way, then something's wrong, because I didn't used to think that way. It used to have good exposition and character development where they took the time. Finally, when something happened, it's like Jaws. You see the shark the whole movie, it's not as good. You see him at the very end, it's way better. The anticipation means something, and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. Well, I remember what I was going to say now. I think one of my only nitpicks would be, and this is because I have become consumed and obsessed with the wanting to understand the timeline. Well, okay. Well, if after the snap, in these 5 years, what happened? You know, I really dug how the beginning of Spider-Man No Way Home, or was it No Way Home, or was it Far From Home?
Yeah.
It showed them all suddenly reappearing in the gym. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool. That's so cool. So, and we're also just obsessed with we've all become obsessed with the details of everything. Like, you know, if something seems to not add up, you know, we want to connect the tissue there. So for me, I wanted there to be more of a discussion of what was happening in Wakanda in the 5 years when T'Challa was not there. Instead, it was more about Killmonger and what he did when he took the throne, even though that happened before Infinity War even happened.
Yeah, they referred to those events a lot in this movie.
They referred to those events more than they did about the time that T'Challa was not even there. And I understand to an extent why they did that, but for me, I was like, can you not at least have some dialogue about when T'Challa was vanished and what was happening in Wakanda in that time?
Well, like I said, that was the whole original concept.
Yeah,
of the movie,
no,
right? And then you had to scrap all that and they come up with a new story. So it might be just one of those things where creatively it just made more sense to clear it out of your mind, just clear up and just kind of start the story fresh and kind of get rid of all that stuff and start anew.
And look, let's face it, the movie. I'm not saying I wanted Riri to be less in the movie. I just don't like how fast
this guy hates Riri.
Look, I'm getting to a point. I just don't like how fast they advanced her character. Uh-huh. So, but even with Riri being in and everybody being in there, it was already almost a 3-hour movie. So they definitely, like you were saying, maybe they were just like, we got to wrap this up so we can tell this story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just got to get to this and tell this story. So, I mean,
in summation, #cancel Riri from BrassReel Bros.
No. That's not at all what it's saying. That's not what I'm saying. I need them to do exposition properly. And part of that is making you care about the character.
Listen, man, a lot of people agree with you. A lot of people, when I talk to them about comic movies, obsessed in those types of details. To me, I just want to be entertained, and I know going in, I'm going to comic book movie, and I'm willing to give.
What separated these movies. This was what finally was making these movies different. When the MCU first came out, you could finally say to people, "This isn't like your normal comic book movie. These are for everyone." And
it's not like your normal comic book movie. It's about a guy in a spandex suit shooting web fluid out of his. Oh, it is a comic book movie. It's always.
I'm talking about like when Iron Man came up and everything. People that didn't like to watch Batman and didn't like, because dude, there's a clear difference between Homecoming and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie, which I love, feels like a comic booky movie, where Spider-Man, it was more about Peter Parker, and yes, so was Sam Raimi's, but they were just made in a way to where they didn't feel like people in costumes on screen playing dress up, where they used to kind of feel that.
But did you get that feeling from this movie?
I'm starting to get that. No, not from this one. But I'm getting that when I see Riri in the costume, I get that feeling. I think it's too quick. I don't buy it. I feel like, I
don't know, because
everybody can do this shit.
She came in for the climactic battle, and I will say this. So there was a part.
She was flying the suit at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, but that was a makeshift suit. It was a makeshift suit. So
still, she was flying around and fighting.
And she didn't fight though. She got wrecked.
After she was picking up people in the water and
she was running from the cops, man. Yeah, that's all she was doing, you know? So I will say this about the climactic battle scene. I thought for a second, because we know that's the number one place where these comic book movies go wrong a lot of times is that third act, that final battle scene. The fact that they tied it into revenge and made it personal, I thought really hit home for me. I thought it separated from your normal comic book movie, and I think that's where focusing it on the death of T'Challa and not showing him, I think it helped benefit that final scene because it gave it that sort of emotional resonance that made it feel different from your normal third act of a comic book movie.
And also, I feel like this was the first real movie in the MCU that actually was relating to sort of a spot we're in as humanity, especially in our country. And I'm not getting political, but there is a lot of division and there's a lot of like hatred for sort of no reason. And why can't, if we, the line, oh, I got to, it's something about, oh yeah, hate has consumed us for so long. We can't allow it to consume our people. I mean, that, if that's not right on the nose with some social commentary,
was it hate or vengeance? That
vengeance, maybe it was vengeance. But if that's not, you know, that's pretty relevant, I think. And I haven't seen an MCU movie try to sort of make a statement the whole way through the movie while being very entertaining and being good, but actually having something to say. I don't know if I've seen an MCU movie do that yet, like this one did. You know,
I mean,
loss and what they were. How do we move forward as a people, as a culture? And I thought that just was cool.
One more thing I want to say about the final scene. Okay, so did you guys watch? I'm assuming you guys watched Aquaman, right?
Oh yeah.
So compare and contrast the final battle scenes of those two. I always make fun of Aquaman because I got my buddy E who loves the movie, and I'm like, dude,
that movie, I love Aquaman.
That movie ended like the backseat fight of me and my brother on most car road trips when we were going on car road trips with our family. Our mom yelled at us and we quit fighting. That's how Aquaman ended, right?
Hashtag Anko hates Aquaman.
Now boys, stop fighting. Don't make me come back there. And then Aquaman was like, all right, Mom, we're gonna stop fighting. And that's the movie ends, right? But then we have that same sort of moment here where Angela Bassett's character, which is escaping me for some reason, makes an appearance to Shuri.
Ramonda.
Right?
Queen
Ramonda, thank you. She makes an appearance to Shuri to kind of send home that message. Like, you know, now she doesn't see Killmonger. She sees her mom, and her mom says, let it go, you know? And her mom resolves the issue in a much more poetic and well-written way than getting lectured by your mom.
Yeah, but remember when
just showed up who just showed up, you thought she was dead, and now she's she's doing, she's trifling. And she's lecturing.
If you're going to an Aquaman movie to get some poetic moments, then you made a mistake walking to that movie. Directed by James Wan.
Yo, you didn't need to have the mom be the one ended it with a lecture.
No, I don't know. That didn't bug me.
It might have been really poetic for that specific moment to be the one and only time that they had a body double Chadwick, where he speaks to her and says, Shuri, know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought with the mom dying it worked. You know, Angela Bassett's such a fantastic actor.
Oh, dude,
she's got this presence just by showing up on screen. I don't care who she's playing; she's got a presence.
Oh, she's phenomenal. And I told Andrew as soon as she showed up, like when you first see her in the movie, I was like, "Damn, dude, in her 60s, it's still smoking."
Yeah.
I saw her on Kelly Clarkson the other day. This is what's really interesting.
Kelly Clarkson!
Kelly Clarkson! Dude, she was on there the other day. And so, you know how when you see Angela Bassett on screen and like in this role and the American Horror Story roles, anything she's in, you know, What's Love Got to Do with It? She plays Tina Turner. She's super powerful and strong and like got this domineering presence. Dude, in real life, her behavior, she's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She's so nice and so girly.
Yeah,
and
no, I believe it.
Not near this like, hey, like what she portrays on screen, but because of that, it maybe be like you're that much hotter now because you're just. I see this sweet side of you, and if you would tell me, and I never saw her before in my entire life, if you were to tell me that, oh yeah, she's in her 60s, I'd be like, yeah, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're lying.
She just doesn't. She doesn't look like she's in her 60s.
Yeah,
no way. You know.
It's that melanin, dog. Helps us age gracefully. You know what I'm saying?
Well, whatever she's doing, working. So overall, let's wrap this up, guys. Like overall, I'm giving this one an A+.
I'm giving it an A.
My nitpicks of it are nitpicks. They're not enough of it to ruin the movie for me.
Man, our grading scale is a little bit different on my podcast. Who's the Master? A little quick plug. Let's keep it with the theme. I'm going to give it the glow. I go back and forth, man, because originally I was like, well, this movie's not as good as the first one, so I can't say it's a great movie, but it's definitely not mid. It's definitely not bad for sure. And the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, maybe it is a great movie just because it's heavy.
It's
right?
heavy.
And I think that's what makes it hard to judge on a comic book scale. Is like it's heavy, and it's heavy because of some real S. You know what I'm saying? Because some real life stuff,
and
you feel that heaviness.
That's what I like about it. It's a comic book superhero movie. Second.
Oh, and I'm sorry. I wanted to touch on this. I liked there was a lot of throwback to the feel of the Iron Man movie. I mean, when you see Riri hammering that stuff like she's building her suit, that was very Iron Man 1. When she's flying in the air, especially when she says, "Oh, he's fast, but I can go faster." That was very reminiscent of give me some more juice, and from Infinity War. So and showing them all of them with those masks with those masks on and seeing it was very much reminiscent of Iron Man 1. We're seeing him from his point of view in the suit. So I dug on that on the homages to throwing it back to what you loved about the Iron Man and the which is the OG MCU movie.
Yeah, I just didn't feel that.
Another quick throwback that worked for this movie is Marvel. Thank God for figuring out you don't have to always try to be painfully funny. You don't.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, thank you for not having the gimmicks and look, you don't need. Black Panther isn't that tone to have that gimmick at all. Like, this is Black Panther is a character that's serious, but so we thought Thor was as well. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was going to say, listen, I think we all thought Love and Thunder were great as far as the comedy goes, but then Ragnarok. Ragnarok was great. Love and Thunder, they overdid it, and now they've been starting to overdo it. She-Hulk was a perfect example of just going that well too much, and not giving your character a serious side for us to see them in a heroic light. We have to see them as heroes first, and then when they're funny and they make us laugh, they become endearing heroes.
Right,
that makes us love them.
Right, yeah, like that's America's ass.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Perfect example right there.
Yeah,
or make the hero part of them the redemption part of them, like Tony Stark becoming the Iron Man was his redemption.
Yeah,
he
was kind of a selfish prick, and then he becoming that guy and seeing what his weapons did sort of started changing him as a person, and that's also part of him becoming Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, I know we got to wrap this up, but I just want to say that I think where Marvel's losing themselves. So I've been reading a lot of Chinese fantasy novels, just a genre I've gotten into, and those novels are very repetitive, right? Because these writers get paid per chapter, so they'll release chapters that are like 2,500 words long, and they'll literally release 2,000 chapters of the story. Okay, and you have villains that repeat themselves often. They're stereotypes, they're little tropes that repeat themselves often. But why do they work? Because they know their audience. And they know you can be tropey as long as you hit the emotional nerves your audience wants you to hit.
Sure. Right? Slashers is a perfect example.
Exactly. So these villains of these stories are usually, they come from rich backgrounds. They're oppressive. They think they're better than people because they're wealthy or because they're privileged or whatever. And they're looking down on the hero because of that. And even though, despite the fact that they're always repeating the same dialogue, it's literally the same character, bad guy you saw die maybe 12 chapters ago, it hits every single time because they know, hey, that's what our audience wants. We just got to make sure we hit those emotional notes that they want, and we can end up being repetitive and getting away with it. I think where Marvel is starting to lose themselves is their writers are trying to get too cute, right? They're too in their ego about trying to be different.
Well, there's no passion behind anybody telling these stories anymore. They're just like, all we have to do is put a superhero on screen and that'll sell. It's like, now what's sold about the original of these movies to begin with is that the Iron Man suit, that was something you wanted to see. And when it finally got there, it was awesome. But you were already really invested into this Tony Stark character.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and also they stuck to basics. They knew, like, critics used to always hold against Marvel. Oh, their villains are so 2D. No, Marvel knew what people were coming for. They knew families were coming to see these movies to see superhero movies that reminded them of the superhero comics they read when they were kids, and now they wanted to share that experience with their kids, and therefore let's stick to the basics. That made them billions of dollars, right?
But you have to do that in a good story still. You can't just put all those visuals on screen and expect it to be good.
Sure, but when you try to trick it up, that's when I think you start losing this. When you get away from the basics, that's when you start losing the art of storytelling.
Replace the comic book characters in Captain America: Winter Soldier. Replace all of them with just Bruce Willis type characters, and it's just a spy espionage movie,
and it's still well done
it's just
well shot, it's well thought out, the dialogue's great, all of it is just there. It's a good story without them being superheroes, and all of those Marvel movies pretty much were.
And that's the problem we had with She-Hulk. They try to get too meta. They did not stick to basics, right?
And look what happened. Look what's happening to the meta company right now.
Exactly.
Not in good shape.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Take that.
And on that note,
it's late for us over here, especially Andrew. This mofo just worked like a 15-hour day before he came and watched the movie. So
I'm gonna be in Vegas at this time tomorrow.
Which, by the way,
oh shit.
Yeah. Let's
it's my 40th. It's my 40th on Monday. Going to Vegas.
Let's give old Andrew.
Hey, you're young, huh?
Yeah.
40.
You're younger than I am.
Well, I've aged like a fine bourbon, baby.
Hey, I know, dude. I don't think I don't know how jacked you got, Andrew. You weren't that jacked when you were waiting tables, son.
No, his biceps are like twice the size they used to be. Yeah. I mean, bigger.
Andrew been on that creatine, kids.
Oh, I got that dad bod. Where I was like, I'm not gonna look like no fucking dad.
Yeah, well, look, you can have you got the traps and you got the chest and the biceps, man. That's all you need.
That's why Bobo cast him the lead for Court Lake coming out soon.
Lake Court.
Sorry.
And actually, the funny thing now, my joke nowadays is leading men actually don't need to have six packs. They just need to have a full head of hair, which I can't fucking help that.
Hey, we'll CGI that bad boy. We'll CGI my hair onto your scalp, and then
I got the.
I'll be your hair double, Andrew.
Spray the hair on you. Yeah. We'll just do like Giuliani did. All these
douchebags that are always on like The Bachelor, like. They're not always like physically fit, but they have a fucking great head of hair.
Yep.
Ooh, maybe I can apply for The Bachelor.
Hey, Ancho, you'd be amazed what kind of work you would get just because you got that hair, dog.
Dude, I think I'm gonna be a hair double. Yo, hit me up on my email. Hit me up on my email. I'll be a hair double for anybody, yo.
We got to write a sketch around that, dude. That's hilarious.
Bobo's my agent. I'll give him my he'll work out with contract details. I'll be a hair double. Hollywood.
Yeah, and Andrew will be a beard double.
Shogun Singh's coming.
See, now that I can do.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'll come up with something.
Yeah. You'll
be some sort of double.
You'll be the editor that makes it all.
There we go. Yeah, I'll make that look. Like, see that guy's hair? That's not his head.
I did that. That.
Well, guys, this has been fun. Thank y'all for joining me.
Yeah, that's great.
So overall, I think we're just to let y'all know we're very pleased with this movie, and this gives me faith in the future of Marvel. And I hope that the responses from this film will make the higher ups, Feige, all of them realize that okay, we got to shift gears back in this direction. Hopefully,
and he hates Riri Williams.
I don't hate Riri. I just wish they wouldn't have advanced her character so quickly. All right, but no, I thought the actor that played Riri was Riri was great. And look, my name's Robert Williams, so Riri Williams. I got some connections there.
Match.
All right,
match. All right, guys. Thanks
for having me on, brother. Appreciate you.
All
right, I just cut him off mid combo there, but hey guys, thank y'all for joining us again. Andrew and I were signing off. Andrew, peace out, guys. Much love. Thank y'all. Go see Wakanda Forever. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a breath of fresh air from Marvel that we hadn't seen in a while, especially since Thor: Love and Thunder. So remember, if life gives you lemons, why don't you tell him, Andrew?
Make some more fresh popcorn.
Oh shit.